Every prayer is answered, every prayer is heard, every thought and feeling, every spoken word, what your soul has longed for, what your heart can feel, is already here, is already real. There is no one out there is no one else. You hold all the answers deep inside yourself. There's a voice that whispers, there's no you, no me, there's just one, there's just unity. One power, one presence, one light to lead the way, all loving, all knowing, that answers when you pray. When the world looks darkest and your eyes can't see, gather all your troubles, give them all to me. I am always with you, I will always be. I am one, I am unity. We are one, we are unity.
We are unity. It's so wonderful to be here with all of you. And I will now light our Christ candle, which is a symbol of the indwelling Christ within all of us and in our service today. Our daily word, well, this is very timely. Of course, there's always something going on in the world, isn't there? It seems like a lot more, I think, because it is a lot, there's no question about that. But we have so many ways of getting information these days. I mean, the world, there's always been turmoil, there's always been things going on in the world, but we get it just right up close and personal all the time, in our messages, in our Facebook, in the news, on the radio. So today we're going to talk about world peace. And if you'll join me in affirming, the peace of my soul brings peace to the world. The Bible's sacred pairings, lions and lambs, swords and plowshares, reveal that peace becomes possible when I and others hold life's polarities in harmony. These verses remind me that wholeness arises not from opposition, but from integration. Within all people, strength and tenderness, boundaries and compassion, courage and vulnerability arise from the same divine source. Lion and lamb are not rivals. They are facets of one creation. Sword and plow are not contradictions. They are different tools for transformation. Peace begins when we see that opposites, both within and around us, can be allies rather than adversaries. As this realization takes root, any impulse to defend or harden begins to fade. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation. Isaiah 2:4. And again, will you affirm with me world peace? The peace of my soul brings peace to the world. And now will you join me in affirming our Unity Foundation principle and our Unity of Billings affirmation. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And our Unity of Billings affirmation, through divine wisdom and grace, Unity of Billings is vibrant, healing, and inclusive. Thank you, Charlene, for that. And now if you'll take a moment and hold your tithes, your prayers, and your love in your hands. Infuse these things with your energy and with your love. And join me in praying. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. Thank you. As we receive these gifts from you, the gifts of your presence, the gifts of your hand, the gifts of your heart, we are grateful as we take this energy and infuse this service today with our love and our light. And this energy moves throughout us and into the world. And so it is. So now we have the great pleasure of, not yet.
Robin found a fabulous piece of music for us.
Oh, good. Okay. We're gonna have music first? Okay, cool. Dancing music? Maybe?
Or we can have it after. Yeah. It's a nice contemplative
I come to the garden while the dew is still on the roses.
Linda says, yeah, 89 if you want to follow along.
Falling on my knees, the Son of God is full.
What page?
And he walks with me.
Can you say that on the mic? 89.
Page 89, if you would like to follow along. Sing along. Be along. This is a great song.
As we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing. And the melody that he gave to me my heart is bleeding. He walks with me, he talks with me, he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling. But he bids me go through the voice of war. His voice to me is calling. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
That was very nice. Thank you, Robin. That was great. And as we all know, we want to get just a real quick hit of the big G. Just go into nature. It's right there. It's right there. Right. And Orllinda Worthington and her message of what else can go right? Yay. Yay. Do you want this microphone?
Nope, I got it. I
Sweet.
did turn this on. Yes, okay, we're ready to roll. No, I like to be right out here up close and personal, and I was gonna just walk out there because if you think you can sit in the back and, be out of my grip, that's not true. Although I do now have to stay up here because of the video, I realize, so. Anyway, so nice to see all of you in person. It's been a while. I like what you've done with the place. I like the sofa. So if you feel you're nodding off during the sermon now, you can just go lay down, right? You don't have to do the head toss thing. I like it. So, thank you so much to Robin and Linda and everyone who has made all this come together. Blessings to Rick, who I love the fact that he was going to do live music for us today. I was telling Robin earlier, one thing I love about this community is that everyone pitches in, when something needs to happen or changes on the fly. And everyone is also very gracious in receiving that. So welcome to all of you online as well. I'm going to start off with a question. Do you ever have one of those days? You're searching around for the car keys and you trip over the dog and you knock your coffee all over your dress and you just explain, or your pants, and you just explain what else can go wrong. And then you find out, you get out, you finally forget the keys, you got your coffee, you change your clothes, you get to the car, flat tire. It's almost as if the universe is, kind of hearing us and answering. Oh, well, she wants to know what else can go wrong. Okay, I'll give her what she wants. And those days, it's just like a cascade of catastrophe, kind of one thing after another. And maybe some of you are home because you still can't find your car keys. I don't know. Anyone here work in an office? Yeah. And so I share a copier with other people. and it was not working one day. This happened a while ago, but, and I took it upon myself to warn everyone. Be careful of that copier. It's not working right. It really screws up. It's all, needs new toner. And everybody would go by. Are you going to the copier? No, stop, save yourself. Go somewhere else. And, my haranguing, all of a sudden, I kind of felt sorry for that copier. I thought, you know what? That thing makes 100 or more copies every day, perfectly, black and white color. It collates, it staples. Most of the time it works wonderfully, but the one time it doesn't, I feel it's my duty to pronounce that and point that out, right? And I know it's an inanimate object, maybe, who knows. And I really kind of started feeling bad, and I thought, you know what if I just changed my thought? That copier is so great. I don't go around on the days that it works and say, look at these copies, this is terrific. Don't you love that copier? And so I gently thought, you know what, I need to change that phraseology. I thought, what if I did that? What if I said, what else can go right? What if I paid attention to those times and actually acknowledged them out loud even? What else can go right today? So I'm thinking this, and I still felt a little bit of an urge to, warn the next person that went by. And she was coming back with some copies. I said, oh, did that copier work for you? Yeah, it's fine. Oh. So, did I change the copier with my thinking? Maybe not. Maybe so. What I did fix in becoming kinder and more grateful was my attitude. And in turn, that changed how the rest of my day turned out. Maybe for others too. I'm sure my coworkers were glad that I wasn't complaining so much about the copier anymore. Now, as silly as that example might sound to you, it really brings an awareness to one of the teachings in New Thought, of which unity is a part, that each time we think or we create or we speak, we're really speaking that word into created mind. And through that law of cause and effect, it becomes manifest. And I'm sure Leslie and Edie, I know have talked about this, I'm probably preaching to the choir. Yet for me, the copier caper is a practical example of how we can use it actually every day in our teachings and in every little opportunity. Because, it's one thing that we come to church and that's wonderful and we think these great things, and yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then, we walk out the door and say, oh, what now? And how this moved into my practical life is, we have a setup team that sets up the chairs and tables and that type of thing for the events at MSU. And when something doesn't match the diagram, oh, they forgot this table or that, we have a meeting and we're quick to point out what wasn't right. And that may or may need to be done so that it is corrected. Yet I really, my office partner, I really made an effort to tell them when it looks great. We put a little note back in the office for the night guys and say, gosh, that setup for XYZ was perfect. Thank you so much. And, we always intend to do that, but I made a conscious effort to do that because pointing out that negative, gets in my head, who knows, everybody else's head, right? Now, Edie is teaching a course in religious science, I know, and that's a little bit more of my background, but Ernest Holmes, who founded that, was a contemporary of Fillmore's, who founded Unity, and the beliefs are similar, and Unity beliefs state that their God is one power. It's all good, it's everywhere, it's present, it's wisdom. And Unity speaks of God as life and light and love and substance and principle. And you can fill in that name of God for you, whatever you're comfortable with, of course. Creator, divine intelligence. It's that stuff, that power, whatever that created all of us. And Holmes famously summarized this phrase, there's a power in the universe greater than you, and we can use it for good. And he said, change your thinking, change your life. Well, that's all well and good. But how do we actually do that? Well, the great philosopher Orllinda says, today, change your speaking, change your life. It's a first step, and here's why. Holmes wrote that the word is a mold which decides what form the thing is to take as it assumes shape and it becomes part of our conditions. So one more time, the word is the mold that decides and shapes our conditions. Now the visual for me in that is Jell-O. I don't know. You know, looks comes the same in the box. You do the same thing, you mix it with water, but it takes on a different shape. Did any of you have that copper fish mold hanging in your kitchen? I always wanted one of those, but my mother put it in a round bowl. My sister, you know, puts it in a rectangle bowl. No matter the shape, it's the same thing, right? It's what we poured into that mold. And I kind of wanted to bring Jell-O squares today for treats, but I thought they're going to be melted by the time I get down here. So whether this is your very first day with us or you're familiar with this teaching, my focus really is today is just to simply remind us to take notice when we might be bringing on some of those old familiar phrases or negative thinking that have become habits like, oh, what else can go wrong, and why that matters. We fall into habit instead of intuition. I often find, speaking for myself here, I fall into habit instead of intuition. I fall into habit instead of trust. Now, I'll bet we all know we'll have that feeling, that knowing, and sometimes though the courage to trust that, or just the awareness. Just like, oh, wait a minute, do I really want to do this? Don't I? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? So my copier experience led me to say, what else can go right in other situations, like with my coworkers? Now, it can feel a little weird sometimes to flip our pattern. So on my count of three, everybody say this with me. What else can go right? You ready? 1, 2, 3. What else can go right? Did that kind of make your brain hurt a little bit? Wait, what? I'm so used to that other phrase. Now, what's so weird is how predictable this pattern can feel. And there's actually some science behind that. You may know it's called neuroplasticity. And it refers to the brain's ability to change its connections and its behavior in response to new information. And according to neuroscientist Mark Wahlberg, we've had to use a lot of his books in my ministerial classes, like How God Changes Your Brain. I recommend them if you want to know more. But he talks about, they've done studies where thinking patterns actually create little nuts in the brain, if you think them enough. And I always think it's like driving on that dirt road up in the mountains. Somebody's been on there, you know, in a truck or something, and they have these ruts, and then they stay there. And if you get in those, you know how hard it is to steer and get out of those? Well, it's like our brain, right? We can get into those ruts, those habits without even thinking. And it makes it a little bit hard to steer out of, for me anyway. So my goal today is to lead us not into temptation, but to transformation. So thinking about those words and phrases that could drag us down and make us harder to climb out of any kind of a rut, and to change them what I call upwards, things that move us upward, forward, onward, and deeper into spirit. Shifting our words is really just a simple first step in changing our experiences, but it sounds so simple, but it can be so profound if we have the awareness and we notice it and we feel it and say, wait a minute, is this really what I want to experience? And it can take some work. Excuse me. So shifting our words, pardon me, is just a simple first step. Now, if you don't trust a spiritual folk like Ernest Holmes, saying how our words inform our experiences, or neuroscientists, try this one on. You know who Steve Harvey is? It's kind of hard not to, right? He hosts, if he still does, I think, Family Feud, and he's had a talk show. He's kind of everywhere right now. I think he has a judge show, Judge Steve Harvey, comedian, and worth millions of dollars now. But it wasn't always that way for Steve Harvey. He tells the story of how he used to speak in very negative, limiting language when he went to Hollywood to try and make it. He'd say, I can't catch a break. Nothing ever works out for me. I'm always struggling. Any of those phrases sound familiar to any of us? You don't have to raise your hand. And he didn't realize it at the time, but he said he was speaking defeat into his own life. Oh, doesn't that sound sad when we hear about it for someone else, speaking defeat into our own life? And, oh, wait a minute, it's true for me too, or for any of us. But he had a mentor who kind of challenged him with a simple truth, and he said, you know, your life follows your words. If you want a better life, you got to start speaking some better words. And he said he didn't really buy into that at first, but he promised this guy he would do it for a certain amount of time every day. So he started saying things like, I'm on my way. Something good is coming. I'm preparing for increase. I receive blessings I can't even see yet. And admitted he didn't really feel very successful when he started using those phrases, but he changed the language every day, stuck with it. And he tells the shift in his words changed his mindset, and his mindset changed his actions. And then when he changed his actions, people started treating him differently. Now, was he changing the other people? We might think so, but as Ernest Holmes and our teachings tell us, that change begins within, right? He was changing himself, and in turn, changed things for him. So he stopped talking himself out of possibility. Oh my gosh, how often do we do that? I can't really do that. I don't know, too old, too whatever. But he stopped talking himself out of possibility. He began expecting good things instead of bracing for the bad ones. And he said that's when things turned around. So it went from, struggling comedian to radio host, TV personality, worth millions now. And he owes it, he said, my success is due to one principle. Your tongue is the most powerful weapon you have. Speak victory. Now you may or may not like the word weapon, but you could say tool. Your mouth is the most important tool you have. Speak victory. Now, I don't know if Steve Harvey was familiar with unity or religious science, kind of sounds like it though, right? It's all that same principle that we create our reality through the power of our thoughts and our beliefs, and I believe it starts oftentimes with our words. There does need to be belief, there needs to be intention, there needs to be power, and sometimes it's going deep and discovering what makes us have those limiting beliefs, and that's a whole other day. Simply getting out of the habit of a self-defeating pattern, even with our words, is a terrific first step. A step to remind ourselves, because I still, every day, there's something that I start to go, oh, it drives me crazy, or why is this happening? Or, I'm finally at the point where I haven't stopped thinking that totally, but I'm pretty good about being aware of it now when it happens. And then I have choice. I can still be grumpy and move along, or I can change it. But at least I'm aware that I have the choice. Now, those habitual phrases are so easy to come off the tongue and the brain for me. Like, I used to always say, oh, this is such a pain in the neck. This is a pain in the, get off my back, right? And I used to have awful neck pain. Now, granted, I've done physical therapy, I do exercises, so that certainly helps. But I quit saying, and I catch myself, wow, it's such a pain in the neck. Wait a minute. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're a wonderful human being. And I put up a little sign that I have on my fridge that said, God's got my back. So becoming aware of things that we can do. And they seem simple, but I swear it works. We all have those pet peeves. You might have some. Anybody have a kind of, yeah, Rob. Fire away.
Oh, the list is too long.
Oh, share just one. Anybody else got one of those phrases that comes up all the time and they just, no? Well, if you think of one, you can shout it out in a minute. As many of you know, I used to work in the news business, and one is still my pet peeve is when it would either be written in my copy, I would change it, or I hear newscasters say it now, and I understand the good intention behind it, but it could have been worse. Everything could be worse. Why do we have to pronounce that? Why do we have to present that opportunity? And I understand when they're talking about, the wildfire only burned 5 homes, and there are 130 in the area. It could have been so much worse. I get the meaning. But you know what? I bet for those 5 people who lost everything, probably couldn't have been much worse at that moment for them. And why put that idea out there that it could be worse? It could have been worse. And that, that's one of those little pet peeves of mine that drives me crazy. So any other phrases? Because once you notice those, try and flip them. I don't have to ignore that it could have been worse, but instead I could say, oh, I'm so grateful that 130 homes were spared. I send my blessings to those people who lost their homes. Something else, and well, it could have been worse. And I understand it's not an intentional negative thing, but it's just a little thing. I really, truly, sincerely believe if we notice that when we change it, it can make a difference in our being. Now, there's a lot that's going on in the world right now that feels out of our control. Linda talked about it a little bit. But there is some truth tucked inside all of this chaos, I believe. We're an individual expression of the divine. Whatever you believe brought you here. There is a unique point through which each of us expresses. And it's, even if you think it's just nature that brought it all together, and it could be. Our uniqueness, our awareness is not the same as the little bunny I saw hopping out there on the lawn. We all have a different point of uniqueness that we bring. And we, as human beings, have the ability to share, to choose, to become aware. And I don't know about other species if they do. My little dog Zora, she hears a loud noise and she doesn't like it. And so it transfers. If she hears thunder, if she hears fireworks, she has a little harness now so she doesn't pull on her throat when I'm walking her. And it made a really loud click in her ear one day. And she freaked out just as if it was a firework or it was thunder. And so now she doesn't like that harness. I try really very carefully to make it quiet. But my point being, sometimes there is a physical reaction, a memory reaction. And I'm not sure, no matter how quiet I am with that little click, it still triggers something in her. I'm not sure, and I could be wrong. She has that, awareness to say, okay, this is just my little harness. I'm going to go for a walk, something fun. It's not thunder. It's not fireworks. But we do have that choice. That much I know. Awareness makes us different. Choice makes us unique. So let's take advantage of that, right? That we have that ability and that choice. So here's what we can do. When things feel out of my control, when I don't understand things and I get so frustrated and angry about various things, I take a breath and I say, what happens out there does not have to happen in here. What's happening out there does not have to happen in here, in my heart, in my soul, in my being. Now that may seem foreign or tough or may not to you. To say, yeah, there's this world going on out there, there's stuff going on. Yet within me, I am a unique being, I am divine, I am not here for all of this chaos. And you get to choose what you are here for, what you want to experience in here. And sometimes a word or two can be just a first step. You probably all have a process for doing that as well. Of course, what goes on out there hits us physically. We might feel some rage and we can acknowledge it, but we don't have to claim it as ours. Not in here or in here. By here, I mean our soul, our great intuitive wide world web of our wonderment. We can choose to feel that peaceful, personal place of rest. I believe that our phrase today was the peace of my soul brings peace to the world. Yeah, so it's not just for us. Yeah, brings peace to our world. Now, I'm not here to sugarcoat things that are going on. I sure wish I could explain it all. But But I am here to offer us just a few words and ways to uplift ourselves during those times. And we'll go over those and have a little practice as we wrap up here. Because the truth of it is, there's paradox in life. There's good and bad in everything. Ernest Holmes says this, philosophers for thousands of years have said this. It's almost like I think of, you'll see a sunset that's so beautiful, red and orange. And yet usually that's because of the smoke, because there's a wildfire somewhere. And even fire itself, it can be destructive, but they're, lodgepole pine, they have to have a certain amount of heat and fire for the cones to explode, for the seeds to drop. So there's paradox in everything. You get to choose how you want to deal with that, if you feel you need a side to that, however you experience that. And there's a rabbi, Randy Shapiro, and he writes, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, I'm going to put these downstairs for you to look at, because they have a super good deal right now for subscription, but spirituality and health. And he has a column in there, and somebody sent in a question, this is what he does, is answers questions, and they said, why, if there's God, why do they allow terrible things to exist? Cancer, wars, etc. And he said, and I thought this is important to share, whether it feels right for you or not, but I'll share it. Events happen because the condition for their happening are such that nothing else could happen. Events happen because the conditions for their happening are such that nothing else could. So this may explain why there's super dry conditions. Maybe a fire's going to happen. We don't know, and I can drive myself crazy wanting to know why. That question, why? Why is this happening? So we label things good or bad. We have that paradox, but the truth is usually they're both, just like people. So we can choose to shield ourselves, move ourselves forward by having that awareness and deciding which way we want to go. We got that choice. We get frozen at that crossroads, I think, of deciding which way to go in a situation. But we can all focus on what else can go right today. Whether it's a situation, whether it's that person that you disagree with, learning to embrace our thoughts and our words and other folks really, I think, can deepen our own relationship with ourselves, with whatever we feel is our divine spirit and our calling. So we've talked about a few ways to do this. As Ernest Holmes says, sometimes there's too much theory, too little practice to all of this, right? So that's why I'm giving you something really simple to do. I say simple, but that awareness and changing our, and that word starts to come out. So this week, just notice without judging when you automatically have a phrase that's habitual, this drives me crazy. And just have fun flipping it. See another way that you can maybe turn it around. And if you notice what pushes your buttons, what can that reveal to you? This isn't necessarily a bad thing. What does this reveal to me? And pause and ask yourself, now, do I really mean this? Is that what I want to add to my world out there and inward? You release what happened into some harmony and think about what went right that day. And remember to say in times of turmoil, what happens out here doesn't have to happen in here. And eat Jell-O, right? Because that'll help us remember about the whole mold idea of our words. Burning Jell-O. And celebrate. When we get an unexpected check in the mail, or we don't burn the first pan of cookies. It might just be me. But we say out loud, oh, look at that. What else can go right? And just see how it makes you feel. Try it. And you may already do that. Keep doing it. So let's practice. Little call and response. So your response is, what else can go right? You ready? I woke up this morning. What else can go right? Yeah? I made it to Unity Church.
What else can go right?
Yeah, there's free coffee and treats downstairs. What else can go right? So there's a little practice. And one final one. I am surrounded by all of you and others who lift me up and remind me who I truly am. What else can go right? I look forward to seeing what else goes right for all of you. Thank you.
called Health and Spirituality or Spirituality.
Spirituality, health, and their science of mind. And
Nice.
I'm not hawking these, I don't get any